My talk relates most distressingly to Susan's, actually. Well, I'll start by telling you there are two Polynesian words that are in general use. One is tattoo, and the other is taboo. And in my family, it is taboo to talk about my tattoos in front of my father because he is so disgusted by them. And I want to just be upfront with you. He's in the audience tonight, so I'm using you as a human shield to talk about my tattoos. And I know my book is for sale downstairs. If my father's still here at the end, I'm going to volunteer that he can sign it for you. I have to say, the thing is, for centuries, seafarers and sailors have had tattoos done as a way to identify their bodies should they drown. And I started getting tattoos as a teenager at a time when I felt that I was drowning and that I did not have any ID. And my tattoos were definitely an attempt to become a fixed ideal. Every time I looked in the mirror, I couldn't catch my own reflection. My hair changed every week. It was pink and purple and white, and my body changed, and even my skin color seemed to change, and I just couldn't see myself. And I do sense there are so many young women now who are tattooed, and if you look at the girls who are in your newspapers every day, the Cheryl Coles and Lindsay Lohan and Britney Spears, I do sense that these are women who, like me, are looking for a kind of permanence and sensing that they're about to be disposed of, and women who also are looking, as I was, for a mastery of their own bodies. You know, these women whose bodies are owned by the Murdoch papers. I don't know if they're going to regret their tattoos. For me, I don't, and I always think that regret just reminds you you're alive anyway. They were definitely, for me, rituals, a leaving behind of one thing and becoming another. In general, rituals like birthdays and weddings and funerals are witnessed by the community and, in a sense, for the good of the community. And I always think that the secrecy of tattoos, the privacy, the aloneness is something that disturbs the onlooker. I sometimes forget that I have six. I have 6 tattoos, and when I see them and I remember, I am able to trace my romantic and my psychological history horribly. And they're also travelogues to some extent. Definitely, the very first tattoo I got was my first documented episode of mania, which in my book I explain really got me rather than the depression, it was the mania. I was 17 and I walked into a tattoo parlor off Sunset in Hollywood and I said, does anyone want to tattoo me? And I didn't know what I wanted and I didn't even really want one, but I was also trying to wean myself off a teenage fixation on self-mutilation. I thought if I paid someone, it might be less bad. It might be like methadone to the heroin. The guy who tattooed me picked the tattoo, and I got really lucky. It's a very beautiful Vargas girl panther, which really suited me, actually, because my favorite movies, like Betty Blue and Cat People, tend to use cats as an allegory for female madness and for sexual confusion and sexual hysteria. And it was a time that I really didn't have my identity set yet, so once he put that on my back, I said, yeah, that'll do. I feel it led me actually to my first huge obsessive love affair with a man who was a Maori from New Zealand. And we tried to break up for about a year and couldn't really do it. And I felt too addicted to ever go back to New Zealand, but I would hover on various islands within the Polynesian triangle, like Hawaii and Moorea and Bora Bora and Tahiti. not able to sleep at night because I felt like I could hear his heartbeat. And I thought, I'm going to get myself out of this with a tattoo, which of course is so important to his culture. And I was on the island of Hivaoa when I got this tattoo, which is Maui, the Polynesian god of mischief. Now, I should say quickly, Hivaoa is where Gauguin died. He died after bringing syphilis to the island, decimated the population, and if you go there now, they literally piss on his grave, which is a sight to behold. And there's, I think, a population left of 1,500 people, and the island tattoo artist tattoos all of them, and you don't get to choose what you have. So I got lucky. I have this lizard who is a representation of Maui, and the great Polynesian myth behind it is that Maui took the form of a lizard so that he could creep up to the goddess of the underworld, whose name is Hine Nui Tepo, and he would creep up to her while she was asleep, and while she was sleeping, in his lizard form, he was going to creep into her vagina and crawl all the way up her body, up her body, up her body, and pop out of her mouth, I think as like a joke. And the brilliant part is that she woke up and crushed him to death with the strength of her vaginal walls. And I really love that myth, and I think that myth helped me move on from this guy, actually. I have a cat here that I got in Istanbul when I was going through another heartbreak, the end of a relationship that had just left me with complete confusion, and I couldn't understand why it had ended, and I had so many questions, and I loved being somewhere where there was the call to prayer in the morning and at night, and sort of Islamic yes-no rather than Judaic wrestling with God, which is my own tendency. And in Istanbul, there's a local myth that the Prophet Muhammad so loved cats that when one fell asleep on his forearm, he cut off his own sleeve rather than wake the sleeping feline. And they say that's why, if you go to Istanbul, overrun by the most amazingly well-fed stray cats. I got that tattoo there, and that yes-no feeling really helped get out of that affair. The next breakup, tattooed onto me, is Isis on my knuckle, which is my favorite Bob Dylan song. It has the great, great lyric, "Things will be different the next time we wed." And I was at a place when I really wanted an apology from a man, and I knew I was not going to get it. And I loved that song, and love that song because that's Dylan's apology decades later to Joan Baez for how badly he treated her. And I took that in place of getting an apology myself. The thing is, now I have that tattoo on my knuckle, I do kind of look like I'm in a Bob Dylan motorcycle gang. But again, no regrets. And no need for regrets. The thing is, tattoos can be covered up. They can pretty easily now be lasered off. I've realized in the last week since my memoir came out that the internet is the place where everything is forever. In The Social Network, Aaron Sorkin says the internet is written in ink, not in pencil. And it's, rather than the stuff written on my own body, the stuff written about me online that I can't cover, it can't be removed ever, and it's the first thing people look at on me. But it's sort of a tattoo with time delay, with jet lag, and I find it upsetting. I have to say, by the time I was sent, now I'm jumping back and forth in time here, but when at 23 I was sent to a psychiatric hospital, I went there probably with 5 tattoos, and I shared a ward with a boy who had a tattoo, a homeless boy, a teenage runaway, who had a tattoo on his forehead of a swastika because voices had told him to put it there. Of course, the Jewish people have a terrible intertwining with tattoos, and in synagogue, when I go, I certainly cover mine up, and I have never talked to my fellow worshippers about the enormous subculture within tattoo of young Jews who get Stars of David tattooed onto their body, the thinking being that no one will ever control them again, that it's theirs. It's hard to explain because tattoos are sort of like dreams. They're only really interesting or revealing or pertinent to the dreamer. There's another huge movement in tattoo of literary tattoos. There are hundreds of people across the world, thousands I think, who have the last line of Ulysses by James Joyce tattooed on them. Yes, yes, I will, yes. Molly Bloom's final soliloquy. Another huge deal in tattoo has been the introduction of, ready, invisible ink. It can only be viewed under blue light, under UV light. And I have a great friend who spent about 12 years trying to get a guy to marry her. And by the time he did, she hated him so much that the night before their wedding, she had "Fuck you, Sam" tattooed on her knuckles in invisible ink, so that whenever she wants to, she can go to the bathroom under UV light and look at it. I mean, they could have just not got married, but I think after 12 years, I think he was so deep under her skin by then that she felt marked already. I know the stupidest I've ever felt over one of my tattoos. I have a Springsteen tattoo on my ankle. It says Badlands. I love Springsteen because I think he represents everything that's beautiful about America, the whole idea of manifest destiny and that you're your best self when you're moving and on the road. So I got that tattoo, and last year I was at a party and Bruce walked in, and I don't drink because I'm 5'1" and it doesn't work out well, but I had had a drink, and I went up to him and I was like, "Hey, Bruce, I've got a Bruce tattoo, look." And I made him hold my ankle while I showed it to him, and he seemed very nervous and said, with palpable relief, "Yeah, it's quite small." And I went, "Okay, bye," and then I left, and that tattoo is ruined for me, but thankfully, Badlands is also a fabulous Terrence Malick film, so now I just tell people I'm a Malick fan. I think the really important thing I've realized after 6 tattoos that are endlessly tied to my psychiatric health, but also my romantic history, is that love, when it works and I'm in a relationship and I would like it to last, love and happiness is going to change shape and color, and it is going to wax and wane, and that's its permanence. In synagogue, I heard a great line from the rabbi. He talked about the etymology in Hebrew of the word doloket, which is the word used in the description of Moses in the burning bush. It means in flames, but it also means full of light. And that's how I feel about my tattoos, that they were part of the path to madness, but they were also the breadcrumbs that led me out. When I look at the stuff on the internet that's critical of the story of my life in my book, I think these people are lunatics who are self-medicating with the internet. And the reason I know is that I was a lunatic who self-medicated with tattoos for a long time. I think something that I learned that has really stuck with me from the Maori was that in their tattoo, as important as the ink itself is the negative space, also in the design is just as important a factor. And I look at my body and I feel that what's left and unmarked is just as important. And finally, I just want to say, Dad, are you here? Okay, hooray, it worked. Thank you. Thank you very much.